All right, here's a quick video on how to add a countdown timer to any of your scenes in OBS. I do want to apologize for the multiple screens. When you display your screen in OBS, it's like holding a mirror to a mirror. But it's a pretty quick process, so doesn't take much. All right, so it's really broken down into two steps. One, we need to create a new text box or a text window to display the timer. And then the second step is really to create the script for the timer to run. All right, so we're going to start with creating that new text box. So whatever scene that you're in, you want to go to your sources, and then you want to select add, which is the plus sign, and you want to add the text. All right. Once that, once you're adding it, let's call this one. We're going to call this counter, right? Once we get that, then we can actually select our font size. If you haven't created text before in OBS, you can select your font by just clicking on select font. It has a bunch of different options. I'm just going to use the default for now. You can change the style and then the font size. My recommendation is to create that font size as large as you can. I put 256, I would go something like 250, and I'll explain why in a second. Once we selected our font, our style, and our font size, we can hit OK. We're back to the text box section of the font, and what we want to type in the text box is timer. Once we hit OK, you see that it's displayed. The reason why, let me just move this down a little bit so it doesn't look as confusing. The reason why I selected a large font is because we can manipulate it easier when it's large. We can shrink it down to the appropriate size and still move it around. If you use a smaller font size and try to expand it, it may get pixelated and it won't look as clear. So it's a lot easier to shrink a larger font than it is to expand a smaller one. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this down at the bottom for now. So that's the first part. Now that we have our display, we're going to go and actually create the script for the timer. And it's actually in OBS. We're going to go to Tools. And once we open up Tools, we're going to select Scripts. And this Scripts window is going to open up. Once we're in the Scripts section, you want to make sure that you are actually in the Scripts tab. So make sure that's highlighted, and you'll see this display right here. The next thing that we're going to do is actually add the script for the countdown. In order to do that, we click on the plus sign. As you see, it says Add Scripts. Click on that, and this window pops up with a bunch of different options. The one that we are using for this exercise is the countdown, so I'm going to select that and hit Open. That window closes and it takes you back to the script log. But in order to customize your countdown, you want to make sure that it's highlighted. And once it's highlighted, this other section opens up and it gives you the options that you need to actually customize your timer. As far as the duration goes, you can only select it in increments of minutes. So the smallest increment that you'll be able to select is 1 minute. So for the purpose of this sample, I'll select 1 minute. The text source, remember, that's the source that we're going to be using to display the actual countdown, and that's the one that we created. So remember, I called it counter, so I'm just going to go ahead and select counter. What this final text is, this is actually something that displays once your countdown ends. You can actually put anything in there if you like, but I just like to leave it blank because what I do is once the countdown is over, I just switch to the main screen. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that blank. Once I have everything that I need selected, I hit close. And now here is your timer, right? But if you notice, it's got the count for hours, minutes, and seconds, right? But what you probably want to do is just display your minute and seconds. So the way that I do that, or the way that it's done, is that you actually crop it. So the way to crop it on a PC, you would hit the press and hold the Alt key. On a Mac, I'm guessing it's probably the Command button, or I don't even know what it is on a Mac, but it's probably the Command button. I move my mouse right over the middle button on the bar, and once I start to drag it, you'll see that now that bar has turned green, and now it's indicating that it's being cropped. So all I need to do is just slide it over to the amount that I want to display, and that's pretty much it. You can still move it around to any section that you want or even shrink it down, But as you saw, once the countdown is done, it goes away. That's pretty much how it works. Now, if you go from scene to scene, right? So here's an example. Here's my opening for the Soka and the Sun show. And in order to start the countdown, you have to actually click out of that scene and click to that scene to start it. And as you notice, now it's started back. So that's pretty much how it works, right? And you can always add this counter to any of your scenes, right? Um, Whether it's the first one, second one, third one, if you have multiple scenes, you can do that as well. That's pretty much it. Let me know if you got any questions.